Good evening, I'm William Pace. Thanks so much for tuning us in tonight. Tonight we have a big show for you. My guest is Gary Leitzell, candidate for mayor of Dayton. Thanks so much for coming on the program tonight.
For having me.
Well, you know, Dayton has a lot of problems. What makes you want to step up to the plate and say, I'm the man that can take care of these problems?
I've been watching the problems occur for several years, and I just figured it was time that some citizen stepped up to the plate and said enough is enough, and I am willing to take on these problems and solve as many as I can in 4 years.
What do you think it's going to take to turn the city of Dayton around?
I honestly believe we're trapped in a 50-year paradigm, a way of doing business that's about 50 years old, because people who are directors of departments down there have been there 20 years, and they've been trained by people who had been there 30 years. And we can't do business the way they did it in the 60s and 70s anymore. Times have changed, attitudes have changed, economies have changed, and we need to change with the times.
So you're saying that City Hall's behind the times and they need to come into the 2009, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I believe that they are behind the times, and it's time to be a progressive government.
What are we going to do about some of the employment problems that we have here in Dayton? So many people are out of work, they're losing their homes. What can we do to get people back to work?
The first thing we can do that's easy is to look at our own zoning codes and our own regulations and amend them or change them to make it easier for businesses to start up in a location in the central business district or within the city limits. Other things we can look at then would be small business loans, and I mean small ones. If you go to a bank to get a small business loan, they don't want to lend you anything less than $25,000. A lot of people don't need $25,000 to start a business. They may only need 5 or 6, and those loans aren't available. So maybe that's something we can initiate. It's, real low loans at a low interest rate or a 0 interest rate as an incentive. I can't control tax breaks. That's state and county and stuff. So we have to look at what we can do as a city to make it easier. Another thing we could look at is the city's inventory of buildings, because the city owns over 526 pieces of property. Maybe they could give rent incentives, free rent for a year or 4 years. Or they could do a program which says, if your business is successful at the end of 5 years, we'll sell you the building at a lower reduced rate or whatever. I mean, there are all kinds of things we can do. We just have to think beyond the box, not just outside of it. We have to think beyond it and become creative in our government in order to solve the problems that we've created for ourselves over the last couple of decades.
For the people who have, it all gets back to the economic situation in Dayton. People have lost their jobs as a result of losing their employment. Now they're losing their homes. What would you do to help people to retain their homes in this difficult time?
Well, the government, from what I can tell, the government has money that's supposed to be trickling down to help people save their mortgage payments, and my understanding is it's not getting to the people. There's too much red tape. It's not been monitored properly. Most people, let's put it this way, the difference between owning a home and renting a home is about $500 a month. And if we can show people how they can come up with ways to just make $500 a month, it'll make the difference. And it all goes back to educating people to start their own business or to generate income for themselves. I've met so many people that just do hobby-related craft stuff, dollhouse miniatures, making clothing for the Barbie dolls. I've met people who make soap and candles at home and stuff like that. And it starts small, But if all they need to do is focus on making $500 a month, that's what, $125 a week. It's doable. It's absolutely doable. And you'd understand that being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's doable. You just got to figure out how to do it.
I want to talk about the budget cuts in Dayton that has cut a lot of the important things like police, fire department. What's your stance on that? As mayor, would you consider that number one important service to the citizens?
Absolutely. Local government's primary function is to provide health and safety to its citizens. Mm-hmm. And the services that they need to focus on would be police, fire, public works, mm-hmm. as well as water, waste collection, things like that. And that should be the primary function of city government. So the things that you would look at cutting should be economic development. Of course, people are going to say, well, we need economic development to stimulate the economy. But the reality is, if you make it easier or give the private sector incentives mm-hmm. to thrive, private business will thrive on its own and take care of those problems, which will generate revenue for the mm-hmm. city in the form of taxes. So we have to stop controlling economic development. I think we're just trapped in a system where we've been controlling economic development in the city to manipulate it a way that we think it should go. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, if we just let it take off, it'll lead us in the direction as a city that we need to go in.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm correct, that the number one problem is to get people back to work in Dayton.
Absolutely. If we focus, if we have four problems, the budget is
mm-hmm.
a problem, crime is a problem, housing is a problem, and lack of employment is a problem. If we could focus on all of them at the same time, or we could divert our attention to lack of employment, and if we provide jobs for people and they have money to pay mortgages, we take care of the housing problem. If they are working, we take care of the budget problem, because the budget is based on tax revenues coming into the city. And if we get more people in these vacant houses, the crime rates will drop in most neighborhoods.
What incentives would you give to people to buy some of these vacant homes? Would there be like an incentive, like they would get a discount or for materials, maybe to fix up some of the older homes? What incentives would you give to people just to say to buy, become a landlord, rent out a house or something like that?
Well, the first incentive should be the price of the real estate itself, because our mm-hmm. real estate values are so low in Dayton. But then, of course, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to some of these houses, because the furnaces have been ripped out, plumbing's been ripped out, electrical wiring's been ripped out, because people were scrapping the metal when the prices of metal were extremely high last year. A couple of things I proposed is basically a rebate of building permit fees, which could be done through the income tax system. I don't know how complicated government can make it, but it would be quite simple to say, if you buy a house and you're willing to do at least $25,000 or more of improvements, and you pay the permit fees for that, when the inspectors sign off that you've done all these improvements, they could sign a special sheet that you could submit with your income tax return mm-hmm. to the city, and the city gives you a credit for $1,000, $2,000, or whatever. Other things that we're finding that are happening is people are buying these houses now to fix them up to rent or to live in, and they are being stuck with the previous owner's water bills. Mm. And I've received a couple of calls on that where people are getting hit with $1,200 water bills, $3,000 water bills, because someone prior to their acquiring a property were negligent in paying them. And the way our city laws are set up, the water bill goes with the property. Well, if that information isn't disclosed before you buy the property, and you're buying it for investment purposes, you've just got hit with an increased cost of acquisition, and so your business venture is no longer as profitable as you were imagining. Mm-hmm. So we either have to have a disclosure statement that says there's an outstanding water bill, which allows you to negotiate with the banks for a lower purchase cost.
Oh, okay.
Or we need to be able to say, as an incentive, we will wipe out that water bill and start from scratch, possibly try to put it in the hands of a credit collection agency. I don't think people should be allowed to get away with, not paying what they owe. But you, as a new owner of a property, shouldn't be burdened with the previous owner's debt.
Oh, I see. What made you want to live in an older house?
It's a long story. Actually, it's a short story. I've lived in Walnut Hills for 15 years, and before I got married in 2001, my wife-to-be and I took a walk around the neighborhood. And it was
Ladies of Xenia, Fairborn, Beaver Creek, Centerville, Springfield, Kettering, Huber Heights, Don't Trip Beauty Supply is in Fairborn. We offer the most appealing selection of hair extensions, wigs, and micro hair in the Miami Valley. You don't have to go all the way to Dayton for your beauty supply needs. Don't Trip Beauty Supply is located in Fairborn, 101 East Dayton Yellow Springs Road near Fairborn High School. Call us at 879-7054. Visit us at don'ttripbeauty.com.
Baker Heating and Cooling, located at 2500 North Main Street, offering residential, commercial same-day service and installation on all makes and models. For a free installation estimate, call 937-274-9966. Baker Heating and Cooling offers 24 hours emergency service, 7 days a week. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. Call 937-274-9966. When you need a professional electrician, call Dunford Electric Company. We specialize in residential and commercial wiring. Our helpful and friendly staff can handle any of your electrical needs. The Dunford Company electricians are fully licensed and fully insured. We get the job done quickly and correctly the first time with very little disturbance at your home or office. Call Dunford Electric Company at 937-263-0123. That's 937-263-0123. Clark Carryout, located at 727 West 3rd Street in downtown Dayton. We offer lottery, snacks, cold drinks, and coffee. We also carry hats, thermalware, shirts, sunglasses, phone chargers, ice, and propane. Open daily 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. For more information, call 937-281-1797. That's 937-281-1797. Clark Carryout, just minutes from I-75. One of Dayton's hidden gems is Diamond D's Diner, home of the center-cut pork chops located at 2301 Germantown Street. Delicious daily dinner specials include smothered pork chops, barbecue rib tips, beef liver and onion, and Sunday baked chicken and dressing. Call 937-268-3000 for carryout, and they also deliver and cater.
We invite you to come and see and taste the goodness of Diamond D's Diner.
And we also do catering.
What made you want to live in an older house?
It's a long story. Actually, it's a short story. I've lived in Walnut Hills for 15 years, and before I got married in 2001, my wife-to-be and I took a walk around the neighborhood, and it was in February. And we walked up Vulcanand Avenue, which is a street we'd never walked up before, and since the leaves were off the trees, we could see this house, and we thought, wow, what a great, big, grand old house. Doesn't it look neat? And at the time, it was 4 apartments. Wow. And we noticed a for sale sign. And I said, oh yes, and look, it's for sale. It just needs a little bit of TLC. And my wife called the real estate agent and then called me back and said, hey, we can get that house for less than you think. And so we made the mistake of taking a tour. And,
Mistake.
and
then you fell in love with the house.
Well, as soon as we walked in the door, we just saw so much potential with this house. It's been a labor of love. I mean, we had to literally gut it and then rewire it, replumb it, and everything. And it was an ambitious first project, and I had no clue what I was getting into in terms of do-it-yourself work. But I'm creative, and I learn on a need-to-know basis. When I need to know something, I get all the material I can, 5 different ways to do it, and I read. And that's literally what I did. I read on stuff, and I learned stuff, and have actually inspired and educated many other people in the DIY field through a blog that I've maintained on the house, teaching people how to do things like repair plaster using mason's lime, not gypsum plaster. And
I see.
Yeah, and using shellac instead of polyurethane on wood. The things that were done in the old days, I learned it as I was gutting the place and stripping it, what they were using and how to fix things. And I also bought some books from 1909 on household hints and discoveries. So when we're doing stuff and we don't understand what they've put on the wall in the basement or something, I can refer to this book and it tells me, you know, about whitewash or cellar paint, and we can read the ingredients and go, oh, okay, now this makes sense to us, and we can deal with it either with new materials that are similar or old materials which we just make up in a bucket. And so it's been a great educational experience, and it's good because people say, Mr. Leitzell, you don't have experience to be mayor. This house was an undaunting task, and I didn't quit. And I look at the city of Dayton's problems as an undaunting task right now, and I'm not prepared to quit on the city. I didn't quit on my house when most people would say, I give up. And right now most people are saying, I give up on the city of Dayton. I won't quit on it. And I have the stamina and the drive and the stubbornness, I guess, to proceed and not quit. And this has been a good learning experience, this house.
Great. I want to ask, by living in a sort of older house, how can we go about preserving these homes? Because they have so much character.
Absolutely. Dayton has a lot of old houses. This one was built in the 1840s. I guess letting people know, I mean, the material cost of restoring an old house yourself is minimal. It's labor that's expensive. And if you pay people to come in and do it, you're going to pay a premium, especially if you want restoration work done, because it's specialized work. I mean, I can tell you, the material cost to repair plaster walls is absolutely minimal. You know, it's bags of lime, bags of sand, and water, basically, and maybe a little bit of Portland cement. None of these materials cost a lot of money.
But it's the labor.
It's the labor. And actually, it's a lot easier to repair some of these plaster walls than it is to rip them all out and then put drywall up.
Yeah.
And it is. But, of course, drywall contractors don't want people to say that. but no, we've pretty much learned how to do it the old-fashioned way, and it really isn't that hard. And if you have patience, a lot of the work is therapeutic, and I think
I would concur.
Right.
I would concur.
And so, and also the result is better. You feel much more better about your result. The only negative about it is you know where all the mistakes are, and they drive you nuts for the rest of your life. Yeah. No one else sees your mistakes, but you do.
Right. That's the way it always is, it seems.
Right. But I think people should not be afraid to take on tasks. It's really not that. The first thing we did with this place was put a roof on it. That was the first job I did. I did it all myself. It took me 5 weeks to do it single-handedly, and after that, anything was easy. And that's how I looked at it. I mean, it was grueling physical work, but it wasn't hard mentally, so the learning process wasn't that hard. It was just carrying 60 bundles of shingle up 3 flights of stairs and then up a ladder.
So older houses, I believe, do have so much character and so much charm. And so how can we get people to move back into the city, occupy some of these older homes that have so much character? Can we also, too, give them an incentive or something if they buy a particular kind of house? Like if they move into a house that's 100 years old?
There were, back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001, the city of Chicago offered a Chicago bungalow program. If you bought a Chicago bungalow-style house, there were incentives, low-interest loans or whatever, or tax abatements to incentivize you wanting to acquire that type of house. In Dayton, our most common type of house would be an American four-square. They're also called like Sears kit homes. They're the square 25-foot by 25-foot, 2-story type of house that's indicative of a lot of our turn-of-the-century neighborhoods built around 1910. And maybe we could implement a Dayton four-square type program as an incentive for people to come in and fix up these particular types of houses instead of demolishing them. The city wants to demolish, and some houses do need to come down, but a lot of them, so many of them are still fixable. The problem we face is we have 12,000 more houses in the city of Dayton than we have residents for. But that's coupled with the fact that we have about 44,000 more houses in the region than we have people to occupy them. So, and 25% of them are actually within city limits. If we can create more desirable neighborhoods that would make people want to come here, then that would take care of a lot of the problems. Perception is a problem. Crime, the perception of crime in these neighborhoods. We have a lot of people that care about their neighborhoods, but we need to empower them to step up to the plate, much as I have in my own neighborhood and as I have for mayor. There are people out there that are willing to do it, but they need, I guess, the encouragement and the leadership. Leadership's absolutely crucial.
Yes.
And I don't see that coming from our current elected officials.
Let's talk about leadership.
I think our current elected officials are more wrapped up in their careers than what's right for the citizens. And they are elected by the citizens to do or to make decisions for all of the citizens, or at least the majority of citizens. I mean, you can't please everybody all the time, but you can at least try to be fair. And I don't think they're exhibiting fairness because they don't consult with the citizens when they make decisions. And I've learned through the community work that I've done through the priority boards and the neighborhood association that if you want to plan something and don't consult your citizens and then expect your plan to come to fruition easily, you're wrong. If you consult your citizens first and say, we want to incorporate your ideas into our plan, then at least you've listened to them. Yes. And you know all the roadblocks as you design your plan. So when you implement your plan, you're not putting out fires afterwards. And I think our city is completely reactive and not proactive in their approach.
Yes.
And if you would plan it out a little better, you'd be proactive and you'd have fewer reactions.
And incorporate the people into it. And because the way it seems now, it seems at times it's sort of like a dictatorship.
They tell us we're doing this tough. And the reality is they should come out and say, we'd like to do this. What are your thoughts on it? So if we do it, we're doing it fairly. And that's the missing factor. They think that because they are paid a salary, they have the best interests of the people in mind without consulting the people. And I've seen this over and over and over again. The city is working more with the citizens now than they have ever done. In fact, across the street we have a family video, and the first time the city ever involved themselves in a discussion with the citizens regarding a business was when I submitted a petition to the city to turn that lot into green space. And they realized that the residents of Walnut Hills were interested in what happened there, and we got involved in discussions with the city and the executives at Family Video, and the store is actually designed based on a plan that I submitted, because if we can't have green space, we should at least have open space. So they've set the building back in a diamond shape so that we have open space across the parking lot versus what they really wanted to do, which was put a shoebox in a sea of asphalt with 60-something parking spaces around. Wow. And it went well. I mean, it was the first, and I was told this, and this was about 6-7 years ago, it was the first time the city has ever engaged the citizens in economic development. And they've been doing it more and more since because it worked. Because I guess they're realizing that their citizens aren't...
Ladies of Xenia, Fairborn, Beaver Creek, Centerville, Springfield, Kettering, Huber Heights, Don't Trip Beauty Supply is in Fairborn. We offer the most appealing selection of hair extensions, wigs, and micro hair in the Miami Valley. You don't have to go all the way to Dayton for your beauty supply needs. Don't Trip Beauty Supply is located in Fairborn, 101 East Dayton Yellow Springs Road near Fairborn High School. Call us at 879-7054. Visit us at don'ttripbeauty.com.
Baker Heating and Cooling, located at 2500 North Main Street, offering residential, commercial same-day service and installation on all makes and models. For a free installation estimate, call 937-274-9966. Baker Heating and Cooling offers 24 hours emergency service, 7 days a week. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. Call 937-274-9966. When you need a professional electrician, call Dunford Electric Company. We specialize in residential and commercial wiring. Our helpful and friendly staff can handle any of your electrical needs. The Dunford Company electricians are fully licensed and fully insured. We get the job done quickly and correctly the first time with very little disturbance at your home or office. Call Dunford Electric Company at 937-263-0123. That's 937-263-0123. Clark Carryout, located at 727 West 3rd Street in downtown Dayton. We offer lottery, snacks, cold drinks, and coffee. We also carry hats, thermalware, shirts, sunglasses, phone chargers, ice, and propane. Open daily 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. For more information, call 937-281-1797. That's 937-281-1797. Clark Carryout, just minutes from I-75. One of Dayton's hidden gems is Diamond D's Diner, home of the center-cut pork chops located at 2301 Germantown Street. Delicious daily dinner specials include smothered pork chops, barbecue rib tips, beef liver and onion, and Sunday baked chicken and dressing. Call 937-268-3000 for carryout, and they also deliver and cater.
We invite you to come and see and taste the goodness of Diamond D's Diner.
And we also do catering.
Let's talk about the small businesses in Dayton, the owners of these companies. What can we do to nurture their businesses, to help them to grow?
Our mayor claims to, our current mayor claims that she talks to 50 businesses a year. And I don't know which 50 businesses she talks to. It may be she talks to the same 50 every year. But there are thousands of small businesses that she isn't reaching. She has an economic development council. And I believe there's like 13 or 14 people on that committee to discuss economic development in the city. And there's nothing wrong with having that committee, but I wonder if those 13 or 14 people are actually going out into the community talking to business owners. And if they would go out once a month, if all those people, including the mayor, would go out once a month and talk to 5 business owners at one breakfast meeting in the community, you know, at a restaurant or cafeteria or something, instead of in a organized management meeting type of environment, you'll be amazed at what people will be willing to tell you when they feel comfortable. And so if only 10 of those people went out and talked to 5 a month, that's 50 businesses a month you'd be hitting, and that would be 600 a year. And now all of a sudden the business community feels that they're being touched by government and they're being listened to. Right now they don't feel that. So it doesn't have to be the mayor's job necessarily, but certainly the commissioners could do it, the mayor could do it. It could be a team effort. Her economic development council could do it, and it would go a long way into appeasing the business community. And plus it would make government aware of what the real issues are and what the real problems are.
Tell me, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about you?
Well, reading the comments on the Dayton Daily News, a couple of people keep saying Mr. Leitzell has no job, which is not true. When you're an entrepreneur, you can rehab houses, and you have an artistic talent. You're never out of work. There's always ways that I can generate revenue for my family, and so that's a misconception. They say Mr. Leitzell is a stay-at-home dad. Well, I work out of my house, so I stay in my house, and so I can do things in my house. So I don't need an office. You know, years ago I was in the insurance business, and I think I showed up at the office once a week. You know, for 20 years I worked out of my house. So for me to even go to an office is futile, because I don't need one, or I'm not used to it. Of course, if I'm elected mayor, I'll have an office at City Hall where I can go and be seen and talk to people, and that's not a problem. But you know, to need a place to sit down and make phone calls, I can just pick up the phone and walk around the house and call and deal with everything. I'm disciplined enough to do it. Other misconceptions, I guess people say I don't have experience. And you got to start somewhere, but But my experience isn't political experience. I've not been a politician. I have people experience, which is all politics is. You know, when years ago I sold insurance, and I used to have to meet with 300 to 400 people a year to do that. And so over 7 years, that's thousands of people that I went out into their homes and talked to. As a community leader and president of the Neighborhood Association, I talk to people in the community. I walk around. As chair of a priority board, I talk to a lot of people and other priority board chairs and city department heads and directors and commissioners and mayors. It seems that I get along with the majority of people. I can honestly say I don't think I have a single enemy that I know of. And so if you've got people experience, what political experience do you need?
It's probably some of the best experience that you...
Well, exactly. The other thing too. I mean, you can have all the experience in the world. It doesn't make you good at what you do, and I think that's some of the problems we have now. We've got experienced people who just aren't good or don't have the right experience and need to be redirected. I always stand by quality. You know, when I painted miniatures for people and for the miniatures gaming industry, and it's a niche market. I also did jewelry for the scuba diving industry, which is another niche market, and I was considered the best in the industry. And same with this house, renovating this house. The work is quality work, and I stand by quality. And I've said if quality were a scale, or if you were judged on quality as a scale for experience, then I excel, because I'm a quality product and I produce a quality product, and I would expect to be able to be a quality mayor for the city of Dayton. And I think that's what we need is a quality mayor, someone with high moral fortitude and high ethical standards.
Well, we're almost out of time. Could you tell us, the citizens, the voters of Dayton, why it is so important to have new leadership?
For the last 8 years, we've all lived in Dayton, and we remember what it was like 8 years ago, and we see what it is like now. I don't think it's any better. I'll ask you, do you feel safer today than you did 4 years ago? Do you feel safer today than you did 8 years ago? Regardless of whether you are safer or not, we have to change the perceptions. We have to change the way things are done at City Hall. We have to make City Hall more customer oriented. They have to service you, the citizen, not their own agendas. And it's time to stand up as citizens and elect a change. On November 3rd, you get to choose whether you want to keep things the same way for the next 4 years as they've been for the last 8, because I don't think things are going to change if we keep the same elected officials in office, or you can take a chance on new leadership and leading Dayton into a positive direction with a different outlook. We can look to the future instead of looking to the past or living month by month, which is how I think they're doing things. I mean, we got to focus on a vision for the future, at least 12 years ahead, and shoot for it. The city had a 2020 plan back in 1999, and by 2003 they'd stopped following it. They had the plan, they stopped following it, and now we've got to focus on a plan, adjust it every year, but stay focused on the end result. And if we focus on the end result, we'll achieve it no matter what.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. I really appreciate it. And we can't let you get away without a box of Esther Price Fine Chocolates. It's Dayton's best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
And when you become, hopefully, mayor, you'll come back and visit again.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching us tonight. Take care. Bye-bye.